Last month I did my disasters and triumphs thing of the summary of how things I made in January when, whether I was pleased with them or not. And this month I have basically nothing to show you. I finished one thing in February and it was a triumph. I think it was the little crochet bear glasses holder that was very popular, I think, when TikTok briefly closed and a lot of people went over to Rednote, the Chinese platform, and they found this pattern and everyone got very excited about it. I was the same in that as soon as I saw it, I was like, love this. So I made it for my partner for Valentine's Day, and here it is. But that is the only thing I have to show from this month because I have spent the entire month frogging project. I thought I'd done a lot of that in January, like I had to frog the grey cable hat I made, which didn't turn out very well, and I had to frog the red cardigan where I ran out of wool. Then my head February was finish-it-Febuary, and I was going to get a load of stuff finished. And sometimes the best plans just don't work out, or even the most half-hearted plans don't work out. So basically, I have no finished objects to talk to you about. But what I thought instead was, I thought I might talk through some of the things in the knitting and crafting and crochet world that caught my eye this month. Okay, so one of the things I was loving in February was the non-cooperation brick by Hannah Roderick, and I absolutely love the description for this. I think it's fantastic. So, do you find yourself increasingly frustrated with the state of the world but have no outlet for your nihilistic tendencies without breaking something in your home? Are you tired after a long day of protesting for the rights of undeserved people and need something mildly mindless to work on while you stream either the latest season of Severance for the first time or the third season of Gilmore Girls for the fifth time? Do you not want to cooperate or be complacent with the fact that we are watching history in the making, but not in a fun and free-to-me way? Well, do I have a project for you? Yeah, so I think the idea is that it's kind of like an alternative to the emotional support chicken. It's also something, that's good if you're just like raging a little bit at the world and the injustices and stuff. I absolutely love this, and I love how many protest knits we're seeing. There's a little knitted stuffed doll that looked very like Trump, but also very like a penis, which is also a voodoo doll, and I just love it. I saw that, I think it got posted in some Facebook group called like uncensored knitting, and then the post got censored, which I also found very funny. Everything in the world, like watching what's been going on this week with the conversations between Zelensky and Trump about Ukraine, it can just feel so overwhelming and so kind of like, oh God, why are we going in the wrong direction about everything? So I think that having humor in our protest knits and our protest creations is so fantastic, and I'm just really, really enjoying it. It feels very kind of like a nihilistic month in a way of just like everything's going wrong. But then when I see just like quirky, fun little things like this, I really enjoy it. And I'm really happy to see it. I don't think I'm going to be making the stuffed brick myself, but I'm very glad that people are. I reviewed a book a while ago as well on this topic, which is called Let's Move the Needle by Shannon Downey. And I had mixed thoughts on it, but I think overall it's a great book to read, and I really recommend it if you yourself are seeing these things pop up on Ravelry and seeing these things pop up in the news and just feeling like the need to do something but not sure what that thing would be. And yeah, I just really recommend this in terms of it'll give you some ideas for how you yourself can protest. Another thing that happened this month is that I post, like, my average video before this month probably got about like 50, 60 views, if that. I think I had less than 50 subscribers, all of whom I cherish. YouTube for me has always been a way for me to talk at length about things that I find very interesting, but that no one in my life is really as into as I am. So I was never really worried about how many people were viewing my videos or whatever. And then I had a video go really well. I called it my Knitting and Crochet Roman Empires, where I talked about projects that I think about a lot but won't ever make. This one got, as at the time of recording, nearly 6,000, which is a big jump for me. And that was lovely because when I posted this video for the first 2 days, it had got 4 views. And I was genuinely thinking, do I need to just stop with this channel? Because like only 4 people viewing it, I did feel a bit like I might as well just record these videos and like not even bother with all the kind of faff of publishing them and making a thumbnail and stuff. And I mean, it's amazing. I got so many offers for like the different patterns and stuff of people who would help me like source them and things. So I have like very ambitious plans for the summer, which I'm excited about. But what kind of came up a lot, and some of the comments I ended up just hiding just because they were stressing me out a little bit. But a lot of people mentioned my voice and started talking about vocal fry, or just straight up asking like, what's wrong with your throat and everything. But yeah, I just have asthma and a cheap microphone. Okay, so spring is coming up, and I always get really excited about kind of spring knits and spring creations, and particularly having like a spring table like set up with like, you know, spring flowers and just kind of ready for Easter and everything. But I really am not a fan of the traditional Easter colors, which seem to be like yellow, purple and green. And then I realized that I actually don't need to go that route, and I could do cherry blossom stuff because pink is such a color for spring, I've realized. And actually when when you look around, a lot of the colours are associated with spring are pink, and that has just opened my eyes, and I'm so excited about some of the things I've got coming up. I'm going to do a video like creating my springtime table, but also all these coasters that I made a while ago. Cherry blossom. I'm going to make a load of more of those kind of pink flowers for the table. I'm going to make placemats in like the shape of pink flowers and stuff. I'm going to go a whole cherry blossom theme. I've got loads and loads of pink cotton and wool, so I'm super excited about that. And that video is coming out quite soon, I think, as well. So yeah, that was just such a nice revelation, because it always comes to spring and I'm always like, oh, I just don't like yellow and purple, like in combination, but they seem to be the colours everyone goes for. And then pink entered the chat, and I was like, oh my god, yes, okay. That was something I enjoyed. Another thing that I enjoyed, so I was travelling with work and I went to a bookshop in Bristol, which I've forgotten the name of, but I'll put on screen. And I got this book called Dogs on Jumpers, Best in Show Knitting Patterns for Adults and Children. The photos in here are amazing. Sorry, the patterns in here are just so good, and I'm so excited about them. I absolutely love the idea of having like making one of these jumpers. There's basically like one pattern for a women's jumper, one pattern for a men's jumper, one pattern for a kid's jumper, and then you just kind of like alternate the dogs on them. They've also got all this interesting stuff in the back, in the front, where it talks about intarsia versus fair isle, and I do want to get better at color work, and I have calf facet aligned aspirations for the summer, but also things like Swiss darning, French knots, all the embroidery you can do. And one thing in particular I'm very excited about is this little outfit in the back for a kid, because my nephew was born a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be 8 months old by October. Can you imagine if I made him this little Dalmatian costume? Like, can you imagine, like, how cute is this? And I love the idea of it. And I'm very tempted to give it a go. And this is just such a great book, because in a month where I was just continuously frogging everything, like I frogged 5 different projects that I've been working on. Like collectively, I just binned about 60 hours worth of work for various reasons. One, I was using the wrong wool. Another project, just I was sewing it together and I was like, I don't like the way this is coming out. Another one, like I wet blocked it, but I forgot that blocking doesn't really I wet swatched it, but I forgot that swatching doesn't really work if you've got a project that is like, say, a really long cardigan where the drag of it is going to keep increasing. And I was making this long black cardigan, and then as I was working on it, it was just getting more and more stretched, and I was like, it doesn't matter that when I swatched it, it said it was going to be all right. This is just stretching, and it's going to end up on the floor. So I had to frog that. In a month where I was basically frogging everything, it was really nice just to get a load of patterns that I'm excited to try. And I know that I can do a basic raglan, and I like the idea of doing color work, and I love the idea of putting my dog on a jumper. So that's going to, I think, be my kind of spring jumper for myself. One of the projects that I attempted and actually made a full video about and then realized wasn't going to work. So I found this amazing pattern. It's by Pennine, and it's in their Jiffy Knit wool, and it's knit this attractive garment in 5 hours. And I've been on a bit of a cable odyssey, and I thought I could have a go at this. And this is one of the projects that I had to frog. Like, I was timing myself to see if I could do it. I could not do it in 5 hours, but I did manage to do it in 12 hours. But then when I actually was putting it together, I was like, oh no, this is actually, I did it in Drops Nepal, and I just think it's not the right wool for it. And it was just dragging loads, and kind of like, I just knew that by the time I finished it, like I'd wear it for a few weeks, and then the shoulders would start here and they would end up by my elbows and everything. So I just needed to do a different wool for it, I think. That was a shame, but it did make me feel a bit more confident that I can follow the older vintage patterns. And I'm going to try and get some more wool to have another go at the cardigan, because I do really like the shape of it. And I think I'm going to keep an eye out for other vintage patterns, and I'm going to try again. Like, all these projects are going to be reused. It's just a bit frustrating in the moment that I'm having to redo so many of them. So that's some stuff. And then the last thing that I think happened in February in knitting and crochet, which I was just enjoying, Petite Knit, who does the kind of, it's very ubiquitous on Ravelry. She did the Sophie scarf. She's done a few other things as well, a lot of other things that people love. And it seems to be a very specific type of person who does a petite knitting. Like, for me, I don't really like the way she writes her patterns. It's never really captured my interest. It's not my style. So I've just, it's just been one of those things where it's like, glad that her patterns exist for people who like them. They're not really for me. So there I am, not really, kind of head and heart empty when it comes to Petite Knit. And then she did this interview. There was this quote about basically suggesting that the way it got interpreted on a lot of social media was that it was kind of suggesting she invented fashionable knitting. Hey, editing me here. Just had another look at the quote, and oh my god, it's so much more intense than I remember it being. So what she actually said was, when I started making my patterns in 2016, you didn't see knitting patterns that were fashionable. But now I think a lot of people start to knit, not because of the craft, but because there are actually some knitting patterns out there that are fashionable. Like, I have no idea how I, in my head, like dismiss this so much, because I definitely in the recording talk about it a lot more, kind of like, haha, someone thought she said this. But like the idea that people only started knitting because they wanted fashionable knitwear in 2016, when the majority of the time knitting has existed as a craft, it's been the only way that people can get fashionable knitwear, is like, I don't know. Reading it back, I'm just like, this is so much more intense than I remember it being. So you're going to see some cuts where I've cut out some stuff I said. But yeah, I still find it really, I kind of find it just really funny how kind of outraged people are at this. I find it funny how outraged I am at it. Like, I don't, like I said, like, head and heart pretty empty when it comes to hair and head designs, and I still feel really like, oh my god, what? But yeah, that's why this bit might be a little bit choppy. Sorry. So those are my initial thoughts, but can I just say how much I loved this post on Fiber Arts, Fiber Arts Circle Jerk, which is, they just kind of do piss take posts of like what you find in other parts of Reddit. How can you say Petite Knit invented fashionable knitwear when Vogue was publishing these creations in the years prior? And just some of the absolutely insane knitwear it's showing. And I remember this. I remember these days, especially the days of the fun wool Vogue knit pattern. Like, it just really made me laugh, the idea of like these patterns were a counterpoint to the Petite knitwear. Yeah, so I just really enjoyed it. I will link to the Reddit post because I just think it's great. I think it's interesting how much vitriol there was. I think we always get to a point where something becomes too ubiquitous, people start pushing back and critiquing it, and I think that's definitely what's happening with the Petite Knit. But that's it from me this month. I have nothing to show you. Hopefully in March I will have more kind of triumphs and probably a few disasters to share at the end of the month. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the comments on, yeah, and just like, yeah, like, subscribe, do whatever you want. Bye.